The Neptunia and SENRAN KAGURA series are both relatively long-running series with their own vast array of spin-offs that cover the many areas of the gaming spectrum. The Neptunia games have generally been more RPG focused, while SENRAN KAGURA were more action and fan service focused. And I love them both. They're my guilty pleasure games. No matter how bad or amazing they are, I love them all pretty equally. So I've been racking my brain as to which franchise I wanted to tackle in review form first. And thankfully, I do not have to choose. They made it easy for me. I can do both. Because thankfully, these two unrelated gems have come together for a crossover game in Ninja Wars. It is more focused on the Neptunia side, while mostly featuring the SENRAN KAGURA characters, but I still get to talk about both. So let's do it. For those new to the Neptunia universe, the game revolves around the four goddesses, who are the personifications of video game consoles. The original mainline game dealt with the console wars, and the rivalry between the goddesses. The stories have since then revolved around some other conflict within the video game industry. The spin-offs usually have no bearing on these subjects, but instead deal with some other random themes. In this case, ninjas. The SENRAN KAGURA series revolves around teenage ninja girls and the ongoing rivalry/conflict with each faction represented by their high schools. The games often allow you to play as multiple schools, getting all angles of the story. The plot of this game is a simple one. It takes a lot of elements from the SENRAN games regarding the various ninja factions and conflicts with each other. Ninja Wars follows the ninjas of the Compa style, which is the Neptunia style, and the Honeypa style, which is the SENRAN girls. The two factions have been fighting each other for a long period of time, trying to conquer the opposite nation. The two sides have been deadlocked throughout their various battles until a new group, the STEMI Legion, makes their appearance and attempt to conquer both sides. The ninjas from the two factions are left with only one choice, but to join sides against the new enemy. Despite the seemingly serious premise, the story is quite laid back and full of laughs. The stories never really become too serious, which follows the spirit of the Neptunia games. It remains simple, predictable, and entertaining at all times, with a lot of fourth wall breaking and comedic quips. The cast of characters include the four main Neptunia girls, Neptune, Noir, Blanc, and Vert, and some of the minor Neptunia characters. The four SENRAN girls are Asuka, Homura, Best Girl Yumi, and Mayabi, plus a few new original characters. The original characters, including the antagonists from the STEMI region, all have their various quirks, which I found entertaining as well. The graphics have always been a weak area for both of the series, but it's never really bothered me before, but might be something you can see as a turn-off. It really comes down to personal preference. The game does look better in my opinion compared to previous titles, but this game truly is more of a style over substance thing. The textures on character models do look a lot cleaner though, and not as faded as the older Neptunia and SENRAN games. This also applies to all the enemies. The map design is also very much an improvement. There are more details, and different maps have decent variety. They're still on the linear side with only a few branching paths that lead to small areas and rooms. The main story is advanced through a world map with a list of locations that you can pick from. The main objective in each level is usually to get from point A to point B. Along the way there's scattered enemies and treasure chests. You can blitz through a number of sections and avoid enemies altogether, but few have locked obstacles which may require you beating all the enemies in it or hitting switches to open them. You can bring any two characters into battle, but only one character appears on screen at a time. The character that's in reserve will slowly heal their health during the time and can be switched back at any time. The combat here is simple to learn and understand. There's only one attack button, which you'll use a lot for standard combo chains. There's also another button for special ninja art skills, which consume part of the stamina gauge. The gauge itself will recover more over time, as well as dealing damage. You can even chain multiple ninja arts in succession if you have the stamina to do it. There's a special EX gauge that fills up throughout the battles. Once it's completely filled, you can unleash the Shinobi Extreme skill, which is essentially a big flashy super move. Furin Kazan Drive is an awakened mode that temporarily buffs the characters with various effects depending on which version is chosen. For example, Mountain type is a defensive form that makes it so you don't flinch and take no damage from guarding. Fire type is an offensive form that greatly increases attack power at the cost of your defense. Forest type prevents any status abnormalities and constantly heals you. Wind type increases stamina, recovery, and ninja art skills. Furin Kazan Drive lasts only a few seconds, but can be activated at will. The only drawback is that you're limited to use of 5 times per level. Other than the character's main weapon, you can also equip both a shuriken and kunai that you can throw at enemies. They're essentially unlimited, but they do have their own cooldown to avoid continuous spam. Despite the simple combat, this isn't a game where you mindlessly hack away at enemies. This is part due to the high recovery frames from the standard combo chains as well as ninja arts. Furthermore, not every hit will stun the enemy, so it's better to wait for an enemy to finish their attack animation before starting your own. There's no block or evade cancel either, you can only cancel into a ninja art, so once you attack, you have to commit to it. As previously mentioned, you can also dodge enemy attacks, but there are times when simply defending is the more optimal action considering the damage reduced is significant. The regular enemies start off simple, but different variations will appear as you go deeper into the game. Not only does their damage increase, but their attack patterns also change and enhance as well. Some of the larger enemies do present a challenge with their large health and wider area of attacks, but the true challenge comes from the bosses who hit much harder and mostly resisted to hit stun. The game has a decent amount of customization through its spirit gems. These can be obtained from side missions on or from enemy drops. These gems themselves are placed in various categories: damage up, defense up, improved drops, etc. Each gem is ranked level 1 to 10. You can combine 2 of the same rank gems to get to the next rank. Each character has one of these spirit boards where you can slot the gems in. You also gain increased effects based on the formation of linked gems that are the same type. You can save a few different spirit boards to quickly swap for different situations. Unfortunately though, you can only swap them outside of the dungeons or levels. After clearing the main story, you'll then gain access to the Yomi trials, which can be quite lengthy. There are 9 maps, each with 3 levels that are accessible. The mission content is similar to the side mission objectives, but what set these apart are the significant restrictions. Restrictions like no item use, no ninja art use, no projectile use, constant damage decrease, etc. Some restrictions are more dangerous than others, but overall require an adjust approach to clearing the levels, which may involve specific gem loadouts. In addition to the restrictions, the enemy damage output, specifically the bosses in these levels, are significantly increased, making it the most challenging part of the game, and one of my favorite parts. Some of the best spirit gems are gotten from these Yomi trials, so there's a nice incentive for completing them. Neptunia spin-off games have always been a lot of fun for me. This one's no different. The story was entertaining, the combat was fun as hell, and these characters have a special place in my cultured little heart. The only real downside to the game in my opinion is there isn't enough of it. I wish there was more to do in terms of side content and post-game. Overall though, Ninja Wars is a solid entry for Neptunia and SENRAN KAGURA fans alike, and a game that I'm very glad exists. Here's hoping the 2 worlds will collide again in the near future. On the 1-up scale, this game gets a 7 out of 10. For more news, reviews and previews, don't forget to like and subscribe here to 1UP Games.